about getting back on the court with his teammates, as soon as possible.
Boy, is there a lot to unpack in the things that he just said, and the perfect man to do it, the one and only Jalen Rose, is here to give the people what they want. All right, let's go through those in order. The first thing he said was that the Kyrie Irving absence had no impact on their decision to trade for James Harden. Do you buy that?
I buy it, Greeny, because this was something that's been brewing, in particular this offseason when those three were in Los Angeles playing pickup games together. And here's the deal. They did a terrific job of formulating a big three in Brooklyn with the Nets. And when you're trying to make that omelet, it's going to be some broken eggs. And unfortunately for the Rockets and their fans, it was them. Because Kyrie and KD were already with the squad. So James was the one that had to go to his team and say that he wanted out. A guy that's been an MVP, won multiple scoring titles. They'll likely retire his number one day. So he had to make it unceremonious for his situation so that he can now make it happen. But now that it's happened, this is going to be outstanding for the NBA because we have a built-in villain, as the people like to call it. KD left the Splash Brothers, and they're beloved. Kyrie left LeBron, and he's the king. And I just said what happened with James Harden. Now you have LeBron, the king on the West, sitting on the throne, and now you have the Nets and KD, a two-time Finals MVP on the East Coast. We needed this for Eastern Standard Time.
I'm with you on that part of it, but obviously one of the big three is not there. Another thing Sean Marks just said is, I've talked to Kyrie and he's excited to be back on the floor with his teammates. Well, what exactly should we make of that, considering, at least in one big way, he's the reason he's not on the floor with his teammates?
So, of course, we always got to take, mental health and or any anxiety or depression into account when we're talking about any human beings. But beyond that, he has a personal and a professional responsibility to his team and to his teammates to show up for work, Greeny. And when he doesn't show up for work, don't donate $400,000 back to the team. If you really want to make some moves in the community with that money, take that game check and actually do that. And he's been a terrific ambassador in so many facets of giving back to his community, Greeny, and it's not talked about enough. But I understand not to confuse Kyrie walking around the floor burning sage on the right wing, because I still have images of him at Golden State hitting a big shot over Steph Curry, winning a championship on the right wing. I know that Kevin Durant is coming back from an Achilles injury, but when he won his 2 championships, that was against LeBron James. James Harden, along with the Greek freak and Dame Lillard, are probably the 3 best players that haven't won championships in today's game. So now if you KD, you come to the West. You saw LeBron win a championship in the East. I mean, if you KD, you go to the East because you saw LeBron do it. You saw Kawhi do it. And now KD's in the East. And when the Splash Brothers get back and LeBron has AD, this is going to be fantastic theater for the NBA.
Yes,
Kyrie will find a way to return to the team. Trust me, when his protocol ends, Greeny, he want to be a part of this show because that's what it's going to be.
Let's make it clear, because now he may have violated the NBA's COVID protocol, and we'll see what the league decides to do. And you just touched on it. He gets paid a little over $408,000 per game. So the 5 games that he's missed, in theory, would be $2 million worth of salary. Now, we don't believe he's being docked that in any meaningful way. But how about that part of it? How about the league's place in this and the COVID piece of this?
That's enough viscous for the projects, boy. $2 million, I tell you, man. But here's the thing, Greeny. During the season, there are going to be ebbs and flows with players. But ultimately, this is what's going to happen. He's going to pay his fine. He's going to clear COVID protocols. James Harden is going to have a press conference today. He's going to play basketball with the Nets possibly Saturday if everybody clear their physicals. At some point next week, probably, Kyrie Irving is going to return to this team. And they're going to have a spectacular big three, unlike the one, probably the last time we seen this was when LeBron joined up with Wade and Chris Bosh. 2 of these guys have already won championships. Harden has already won an MVP. This is going to be great theater. And I'm going to just tell you this. I'm still not picking them to win it all this year. I'm picking the Milwaukee Bucks to still come out of the East. So while I'm giving them all of this praise, this ain't going to be the year for them to win the East. The back-to-back reigning MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, just got Drew Holiday along with Middleton. People still sleeping on Chris Middleton. Did y'all see him ball in the playoffs last year when the Greek Freak wasn't available? That continuity is going to mean something in an abbreviated season. The Bucks will eliminate the Nets if they play them in the playoffs.
You and I had a suit bet on something that happened last year. You won it from me. This is another bet I want to make. We'll talk about that offline. Have an outstanding weekend. The great Jalen Rose.
Thank you.
And we will see.
He was saying that it was a backcourt better than me and CJ too.
Today?
Well, I don't see how it would be today after tonight, but I did. You were saying
I
you were saying the Wizards backcourt.
I raised it as an option because someone said there was no contest. So I said, well, what about Beal and Westbrook?
That's incredible.
Don't hide.
CJ combining for 68 points, 23 assists, and a win over the Kings. Richard, I'll ask you the simple question. Do the Blazers have the best backcourt in the league?
Yes. Christian James and Dame Dollar are the best backcourt in this league currently. They're
Robert?
But don't hide.
You know, I'm not going to say they're the best. I'm not going to say that. I love Dame. I love him to death. But think about it. Bradley Beal's putting on a show. Westbrook is an MVP, triple-double. So there's an argument for a lot of other duos out there.
But my thing is this: don't hide behind you. If I was that guy, he was like, today, I didn't. It's like, no, look. At the end of the day, just
scared, man.
Say this. Say this.
What you gonna say?
Look, do you have an MVP? Have you played in the finals? Because that duo has an individual that has done both.
Well, yes. I would say, though, that Westbrook has not found his footing quite yet with the Wizards right now, and I would certainly give it to Dame and CJ, or as you have taken to calling him,
Christian James.
There we go. Welcome to The Jump. I am Rachel Nichols alongside a couple of NBA champions, Richard Jefferson, Robert Horry. I would like to brag that between the three of us, we have 8 rings. That's the right way to say it, Richard,
That is
right?
I like to say
I don't think we need to say anything more. Who has 7 on this
We're
panel?
team, baby.
It might
We're
be,
team.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
So kind. Coming up, how good are the Rockets now after acquiring Victor Oladipo in that massive 4-team blockbuster trade? We will discuss the Houston side of things in a moment, but you know where we're going first. Yeah, Brooklyn. It says something about a trade if we can simultaneously have been talking about it possibly happening for months and have it knock everyone over when it comes through. Durant, Harden, Kyrie, all on one team. It's a dazzling collection of basketball talent. Durant on his way to proving he's right back up there with LeBron as the best player in the NBA. Harden, one of the game's greatest ever scorers, who's finished top 5 in MVP voting 6 of the past 7 years. Kyrie is the league's best ball handler who can flat out perform magic around the hoop. They are 3 of the most outrageously talented players in the league. But they're also, of course, 3 of the NBA's most distinct personalities, making all of this potentially explosive in about 100 different directions, both good and bad. So what does happen when 3 crazy kids moved into one of those Brooklyn lofts together to try to take on the world? I'm glad you asked. Yes, in honor of this mega trade, The Jump presents our latest show within a show. Three's Company, Brooklyn edition. And just like with Jack, Janet, and Chrissy,
Jack
you can
Roper.
expect plenty of hijinks
Why you got Kyrie's face looking like that?
as we see
Everybody
how
else
this
smiling.
group meshes.
Why did they put him in Chrissy's spot, though?
Now, executive producer, Nets general manager Sean Marks is optimistic. Here he was this morning talking about the screaming neon elephant in the room, team chemistry.
Look, I think whenever you're meshing personalities, I think we've got to wait and see how this all fits on the floor and so forth. I think these guys have given us the right answers. They've said, hey, they want to play together. They can see this fitting. I think they're at a time in their careers. They understand that there's without a doubt going to be some nights where 1 or 2 need to sacrifice for the other and so forth. But I think they're all looking for that common goal.
Marks added that Harden and Durant already knowing and liking each other should help speed the team building process here. Perhaps, although as he was speaking, it was hard to not think about how that same scenario went so wrong between Harden and Russell Westbrook that Russ asked out after just one season. As for the Kyrie angle, Marks denied that Kyrie's current situation spurred the Nets to finally pull the trigger on this trade, insisting it was not a hedge to give Durant a more reliable co-star. He also noted Kyrie is, quote, very excited to return to the team after his mysterious absence. But honestly, none of that addresses what is going to be the real issue going forward. Is Kyrie going to be okay with essentially being the third option in Brooklyn behind two former MVPs? We know part of why Kyrie asked out of Cleveland was because he didn't want to continue shaping either his game or his standing on the team around LeBron anymore. We know there were issues coexisting with teammates in Boston. We know that in other recent big threes, guys like Kevin Love, Chris Bosh have had some trouble adjusting to that third role. And these two guys, well, they're at least notoriously mellow. At least Kyrie plays a different position. He will have the ball in his hands more. Maybe Ray Allen and Boston is a better comparison. Although clearly it is something to watch.